Welcome to the Plan B CRNA podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Jones, and I'm so excited that you're here. The Plan B CRNA podcast is the only show made specifically for nurse anesthetists who are exploring options outside of their traditional career paths. This is the place to expand your mind and your goals as we uncover new ways to produce side income together. Join me for some honest, unscripted discussions with other CRNAs who are transforming their financial lives. This episode is brought to you by On-Call Capital. On-Call Capital is dedicated to educating CRNAs and other healthcare providers about investing outside of the traditional stock market. On-Call Capital also provides opportunities for you, yes, you, to create passive income and generational wealth while also lowering your taxable income through investments in the apartment and alternative investment spaces. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, make sure you do that right now so that you don't miss an episode. Thanks so much for joining me today. And now, on with the show. Welcome to another episode of the Plan B CRNA podcast. Our guest today is a good friend of mine who has been instrumental in pushing me out of my own comfort zone. Leslie Awasom is a CRNA with experience at the University of Maryland Medical Center and the Johns Hopkins Bayview area. He is also the director of operations for Excite Capital, where he helps medical professionals grow their wealth through multifamily real estate investing without the hassle of dealing with day-to-day management. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Leslie.
All right, Bobby. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad you got this show going. I've been looking forward to this interview.
It's exciting. I'm really pleased to have you here with me today. And so let's just jump right into it. What is it that led you to get into this path?
Well, Bobby, whether you come from a long business background or you come from a family where you like the very first person to go to college, or you come from there comes a time in life where you got to make like some serious financial decisions, and that's actually what led me down this path. After graduating as a CRNA. And, as a CRNA, it's a very great position. The salary is very good. It's a nice schedule, nice work-life balance, pretty much. But I found myself sitting and asking, is this it for me? Is this the limit? Is this where I see myself being in the next 20, 30 years? And that feeling just didn't sit right with me. I felt like there was a ceiling to my growth as an anesthesia provider, and I wanted to grow more. I wanted a more stable life for my family. And I wanted to have a little bit more control of my time. So that's how I started doing some research and reading about finance, because I didn't have any financial education prior to that. So I started doing some research, and I came across a book by Robert Kiyosaki that talked about the title of the book is Second Chance at Your Life and Your Money. It talks about millennials and how they manage money and how dealing with student loan debt and managing money in this economy. And a lot of the stuff in the book made a lot of sense to me. So I started following some of the steps and recommendations that he made in the book, and started investing in real estate, and came together with my partners along the journey, and we started the company Excite Capital Investment, and it's been like an amazing journey of growth ever since.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I can appreciate that you mentioned Robert Kiyosaki without mentioning the big purple book that everybody talks about. I've read Rich Dad Poor Dad. My personal favorite is Cash Flow Quadrant. And I feel like that's one of those that's really great for educating people in the realm of finance and where they need to be. So, you mentioned getting started and not knowing much about what you were really getting into and what you were really looking for. So what were some of the obstacles that you ran into along that path?
The biggest obstacle I'll have to say was my own self. The biggest obstacle in getting started and getting things moving was my own self, my own thoughts, my own limiting beliefs, my own psychology of what was possible for me. That's what was really stopping me, because I had a lot of fears starting this. I was afraid, what if it doesn't work? What if I fail? Do I really know what I'm getting myself into? But every step along the way, one of the things that Robert Kiyosaki mentioned in Second Chance was getting involved in a lot of personal growth and personal development kind of material, which is what I started listening to. He recommended a tape by Earl Nightingale, I think it's the Acres of Diamonds tape, and I just bought that, and I was listening to it every day in my car as I drove to work and came back from work. And what that does is it expands your mind and opens up your mind to new possibilities. So I now found the courage to be able to step outside of my comfort zone and go out and start facing some of these challenges. So for me, the biggest challenge that I faced really was psychological. And I still face some of that as I go out and I try to attain higher heights these days. But those are the challenges that I face, and as much as I overcome them, I grow along the way.
That's fantastic. I can really appreciate the idea of having to change your mindset around some of the different ideas that you have that can limit you in what you're able to do, because a lot of people do get into their given profession and they just kind of stop growing from that point.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I feel like that's kind of a dangerous place to be in myself, because the world just constantly changes.
Yeah,
So
some people are comfortable with being comfortable, and one thing I realized is when I started embarking on this journey, and saw all the growth and possibilities that were out there for me. I wanted everybody that I cared about to do this, to learn about it. Hey, there's more possibility for you out there. But what I realized is not everybody is uncomfortable with being comfortable, right? So the people that are uncomfortable being comfortable are the people that go out there and change and put themselves through these challenges to go out and achieve more, because it's not necessarily an easy journey. It takes a lot of effort and persistence and determination, to keep moving and keep growing and to break some of those psychological barriers that we've built up over through the years. At least that has been my experience.
yeah. So how did becoming a CRNA prepare you for going into this side venture, or did it at all?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think every part of my life has prepared me to where I'm at, and being a CRNA in particular, because the discipline that you need to be an anesthesia provider, right? The level of analysis, critical thinking that it goes into everything that we do on a daily basis. You got to think about it, right, Bobby? When we go to work, we have people's lives in our hands. To manage these people, very sick patients in very, very critical situations, it does prepare you for the outside world as well, but it might also hinder you as well. So it's about taking those skills and those strengths that you've gained from your professional background, and then applying the positives as you go out and into being into the business world itself. So the discipline in particular is very, very key, and which is something that is drilled into you when you get into anesthesia practice.
Very cool. So let's talk a little bit more about your business.
Yes.
How long did it take for things to get rolling? And what exactly is the business that you're in
Okay.
right now?
Yes. So our business, we focus on acquiring cash flowing multifamily assets in emerging markets. And we do that in collaboration with a group of our investors. Most of our investors are healthcare professionals like ourselves. We're looking to grow wealth, and we provide them a nice, solid vehicle where they could grow their wealth in with these apartment buildings that we buy. So we do a lot of work on the back end to research and find these unique opportunities that are maybe below market rent or have opportunities of value add, and we acquire these properties and present it to our investors. And I started and back our company, Excite Capital Investment, was created on February 2nd of 2019. I remember that day vividly. We started on that journey. The first thing we did when we created our company was to hire a coach and a mentor, and started learning and started going out there and facing challenges, going out there, meeting people, talking about this asset class. It took us about 9 months of constant effort, constant work, going out, talking to people, creating a meetup, educating people, going to other events, networking with other professionals in the business. It took us about 9 months before we actually had our first opportunity to be on a deal, to raise some capital on a deal, which we failed on miserably. So
I know the feeling.
yeah, 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 so yeah, which we failed on miserably. But that was a pivotal moment in our growth, right? Because when we were unsuccessful, we came back and we had to ask ourselves, okay, what did we not do right here? Okay, what are we not, what else can we do to get better, to grow better, to go out there and such that this kind of an mistake doesn't happen again, or this kind of situation does not repeat itself, and we identified some key mentors that we could learn from, and we went ahead and did that. And some of the lessons that we learned from that, came back, used it, and applied on our business. And at that point too as well, we started opening our minds to maybe expanding our group and adding an additional partner. And that is when our third partner came in. And since when he came in, and and all the knowledge that we've gained, all the experience that we've gained, things just picked up from there. So the true traction did not really start until maybe about 13 months after we started the business. So it took us about 13 months to really pick traction. But during those 13 months, it was constant effort, constant pushing forward, and keep going.
Very cool. When I've learned with my experience in apartment investing that it's very much a team sport. And so a lot of people try to go it alone when they first get started, and they quickly find out that you really need good team members to accelerate that growth path. So that's one of my tips for people looking to get into apartment investing. I was wondering what other tips you might have, Leslie.
Oh, there are plenty. I think the team sports aspect is it's a very, very big one. You gotta remember these assets are big, huge, and the reason why we're able to get is when we work as a group with that philosophy that I am because you are. If we put our forces together, we could go out and get bigger assets, which is one thing I like about the business. Another important tip that I will mention, I think I've alluded to this during the interviews, the personal development aspect of things, because a lot of us are comfortable with buying single family assets, right? A lot of us own our homes. So it's easy for me to go buy a rental property, a single family rental property, because it's something that I'm accustomed to. But when you start hearing about $12 million assets, $5 million assets, there's that fear that kicks in, that question of, well, how is this possible for someone like me that makes maybe just $200,000? Like, how am I able to do that? So the mindset piece is very, very, very important, because like one of my mentors, Tony Robbins, says it's success is 80% psychology and 20% skill. So you really got to up that psychology in order to be able to see these things as being possible for you. Else you're going to get to an area and you're going to always succumb back to your fears and go back into your comfort zone. And the other tip I'm going to give is get started. Don't wait. This is truly one of the greatest asset classes, at least that I've come across, or with my limited knowledge, that is available out there for individuals like ourselves. So there's a ton of opportunities still available. There'll be a ton of opportunities in the future. So don't wait. Jump in as fast as you can, and start growing your wealth with apartments investing.
That's fantastic. And so where do you see this going for you in the next 5 to 10 years? How do you see this business growing? How do you see the market for multifamily going?
First off, the market for multifamily continues to be strong. It is weathered many storms in the past. The 28 recession, it barely had an effect on the multifamily space. The COVID recession earlier this year as well, it did affect multifamily slightly, but not as much as the other asset classes. And multifamily remains strong now with all the other funds that is running away from all the other real estate assets like retail and offices. It's a lot of that is getting pumped into multifamily right now, and we're seeing cap rates getting more and more compressed, and the market getting more and more competitive. For us as a business, we have a very ambitious goal in the future to within the next 5 years to have $7,000 of multifamily assets under management. And to get there, our goal is to expand our community as big as possible, to educate more people, bring in more people, and let them know about this opportunity that's available to them out there. So I see myself growing in this business, building it. I'm really, really enjoying myself in the process. I'm really enjoying all the growth that's happening. I'm really enjoying all the value that we bring to our community of investors and members of our community who just come to learn. So I do plan on expanding in that role and scaling back on my role as a CRNA as we go along.
Yeah. So let's talk about a typical deal that you present to your investors. What does that look like?
So we present deals that have been highly vetted, that have opportunities for double-digit returns to our investors. We like to offer a preferred rate of return to our investors, which means our investors are guaranteed a certain amount of cash flow before we could get any piece of the cash flow from the deal. A typical deal is anywhere from 100 to 200 units. We have a recent deal now that our deals are for accredited investors only. We work just with accredited investors. We have a current deal right now that under contract, but it's a $12 million deal that is offering about 18.5% average annual returns to our investors. These deals, we underwrite these deals in a conservative way as much as possible and apply a lot of cushion going into the deal such that we don't want to go in a deal where we lose money for ourselves and our investors. And most of these deals we do invest our own funds into. So our deals offer double digit returns anywhere from 12 to 20. We try to stay more on the higher side. And that's average annual returns that our deals provide. We always provide a preferred rate of return to our investors, so our investors make money before we do. And we typically hold our deals anywhere from 3 to 5 years, and in some cases 7 years.
So how do you actually make money as an operator of an apartment building?
Oh, that's a very good question. So we charge an acquisition fee on entry for the each building, and the acquisition fee is just a little fee that we charge to our investors for putting the deal together. You know, because it takes a ton of work researching, bringing all these deals together, and it takes a lot of expenses to get all of that. So we charge anywhere from a 2 to 3% acquisition fee. Industry standard is 1 to 5%. And the other part where we make money is our deals are structured such that our investors get anywhere from um, as much as 90% of the entity that owns the deal to maybe 60% of the entity that owns the deal, and we own the rest. So when we exit out of the deals, when we're able to implement our business plan and increase this value of these buildings and sell at the end, we get the percentage of whatever ownership we have on the entity structure, which is anywhere from 20 to 30%.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And so the general idea then is that you're not going to make a lot of money from this until you reach what point?
Exactly. So until we have maybe about 4 or 5 deals that we have under management, then that's when the funds that are coming from it can actually replace the income that I make as a CRNA for it. So it's a business that grows over time, right? The more you that it when we scale to a certain point, then that's where the real income starts coming in. When we get to the point where we start exiting out on deals, and we have a strong system in place where we acquiring 4 to 5 deals a year, we should be in about a year or two. Then things start picking up at that point in time.
Okay. And you mentioned the fees. Does that come directly out of investors' pockets and their returns suffer for that?
No, no. The fees, everything is underwritten, and the returns remain. They still get the same amount of returns.
Okay. Okay. Just wanted to clarify that for
Of course.
anybody listening. So, um, what have we missed? What have we not talked about that you have this burning desire to talk about today, Leslie?
It's just free flow, whatever. I usually come to these interviews not prepared, just so I could speak from the heart and say whatever it is that. Um, it has been an amazing journey so far. I know a lot of our colleagues, CRNAs, are not very familiar with this asset class. A lot of our colleagues are more familiar with traditional vehicles of investment. So I think there's a unique opportunity here for people like ourselves to really go out there and educate. And let our colleagues know this is available out there to them, provide the information for them to look out and see if it's something that makes sense for them.
Yeah. Would you change anything about your path that you've taken? What is it that you can think of that maybe looking back, hey, I could do this a little differently, or I could do that a little differently?
In the past, I would answer that question and say I should have started sooner, but right now I would say no. I wouldn't change anything. I would take every challenge, every failure, every part of the journey. I would take it all because everyone has contributed one way or another to getting me to where I am today. I
Cool.
do a lot of self-reflection and looking back with gratitude of some of the experiences that I have, and I'm at the point where I am grateful for all the experiences that I've had, because I understand that they shaped me somehow to get me to this point.
I love that answer. I love the whole idea of bringing that mindset into your daily life. You
Yes,
have to have the right mindset to be successful in any of these side businesses that we mention on this podcast. And man, it just seems like you've got a lot of that figured out, which is something that's great to behold. So, Leslie, how can listeners get a hold of you, and how can they find out more information about you? How can they get involved in some of these deals that you have?
so before I answer that, I just wanted
Oh,
to state something regarding the whole mindset piece that you talked about.
sure.
If you think about it, right, Bobby, we all have 24 hours in the same day, right? The reason why somebody maybe is going out and getting buying $10 million assets, and you're not, it's not it's not discipline, because as an anesthesia provider, it requires a lot of discipline for you to. It's not intelligence, because to get to where we are in our professional career, it takes a lot of intelligence. It's not hard work. We work hard. Like, we to put in a lot of effort to get to where we are. So the key difference with what I've learned from my journey so far, the key difference between us that uh, do the W2 on a daily basis and work really hard is, it's just the sense of direction that we're looking at, and the kind of mindset that we have moving in that sense of direction, right? Because you still put in a lot of work to be an anesthesia provider, to provide for your family, to get up every day and go to work. It takes a lot of efforts to do that. And if you have that same kind of effort and same kind of discipline with the right mindset, just pointed in a slightly different direction, you could get much, much larger results. That has been the experience I've seen. And that is what my partners and I have experienced so far on this journey.
Yeah. The
So
world can be so much larger than we think it can be.
absolutely.
So,
And to go back to your question, of course, listeners can get in touch with us, myself or any one of my partners, on our website, which is www.xsitecapital.com. That's xsitecapital.com. We also host a monthly meetup. There's a lot of educational content that we give out every first Monday of the month. It's called the Exciting World of Multifamily Investing Meetup, and it's available on the Meetup app, or you could reach me out, Leslie Awasom. Text me. My cell phone number is 301-655-4708. Again, 301-655-4708.
yeah, and I can attest, his multifamily meetup is just awesome. He has some of the best guests in the business that come on and share their nuggets of information with you. Neil Bawa was a guest just this last month, and just knocked it out of the park. So, and who's your next guest? I believe it's Adam Adams, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Adam Adams, and he's going to be talking about how to raise money for multifamily deals. So
Yeah.
it's going to be
No.
another great one. We're really excited and looking forward to it.
Yeah, this is something that has definitely grown for you guys, and I'm thankful to be a part of that as well. So, well, Leslie, this has been just a real pleasure for me. Excited to have you here, and so grateful for everything that you've provided for our listeners today. I want to thank you again for being here, and that's going to do it for us today. And I hope you'll join us next time on the Plan B CRNA podcast.
Thank you so much, Bobby. Thank you so much for having me. Truly a pleasure.
What another great episode. Leslie is such a great guy, and it's obvious how hard he has worked on his own psychology to become successful. You'll notice that it took quite a while for things to get rolling for him, but you really learn the most when you're first starting out and tweaking everything. When you shift your mindset, the people around you start to take notice, and good things begin to blossom for you and your business. That's going to do it for us today. I hope you'll join me next time on the Plan B CRNA podcast. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Plan B CRNA podcast. If you haven't already subscribed and reviewed the show, I'd be honored if you took the extra time. It really helps to expand our reach and get the word out about the show. If you're a CRNA who is interested in sharing your story on our podcast, I'd love to have you. Please email me at bobby@oncallinvestments.com for more information. This episode was brought to you by On-Call Capital. They are dedicated to helping providers like you develop passive income and generational wealth through investments in the apartment and alternative investment spaces. Feel free to check out their website at www.oncallinvestments.com and subscribe to their free educational email series. You can find On-Call Capital on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also check out our YouTube page, where you'll find all of the show episodes along with other educational videos. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.